Olives being fruit, I don't believe are harvested. Well, they can be harvested, but I don't think you can plant them like everything else. Which means you really only see olives as an import, and therefore not in a large enough quantity normally to be able to use them as a primary source for your oil. Which really does tend to leave you with quarry bushes for the most part, unless you get fortunate enough to find one of the seed-bearing fibers.
Winter is here.
It would be nice if you could plant them, but Toady hasn't implemented tree planting yet. If this works, we'll be able to seal this up and start closing up some of these tunnels that we no longer require. Yeah, see, that's kind of disappointing. It would be nice if, even if it wasn't necessarily on your site, that if it was biome compatible, that you would at least be able to grow the tree. While I don't have olive trees out back, I do believe I could probably get some scrubby olives in my particular climate, although it may be a little too cold here. It might need to be a little further south before you get away with it. I wouldn't expect them to be the highest quality olive trees by any stretch. It's not an ideal climate for them, but I mean, you could grow them, I think. They would survive. Okay, I'm going to let this carry on for a minute. I have to step away to take care of some necessities here. How are we not, like, drowning in mechanisms at this point? And that should force people to route through the footpath here. I'm going to seal this up, and if a wagon comes, we'll lose out on it, but that's okay. We'll let this run AFK so I can get some of the let the work continue while I'm not at the keyboard. There we go. Now I know that everybody who comes in must path through the area where they're going to run over all the traps. That, at least, I'm confident in some reasonable defense. The only thing that will get through that is a kobold, and a kobold can't sneak all the way in. We will eventually, or I should say we would eventually, I guess I would say. I don't really need another. Nope, we're good. You're out of here. Bye. Done. Normally I would put up another bridge like right here, for example, to leave the tavern area and the depot out, sort of in the middle ground between the outside of the fort and the inside of the fort. I don't really think it's a priority at the moment, though. We're It's 6:30 a.m. Well, discounting daylight savings time because really it's 5:30 now because the clock's all rolled back. But so I've got an hour and a half left in the 24-hour stream at that point, and I still have to get my tower up and my obsidian caster working, and yeah, so we've still got some stuff we got to get done. It's more important than worrying about my bridge there, I'm thinking. Have we finished the thing yet? Oh, not yet. Okay, let's take a look. We're still backed up on limonite because we don't have enough people running the smelters. Yeah, on an extended play, like if I was going to continue this on past 24 hours for you guys today, I would definitely want to have a layered defense. That's an ideal situation. Do you know if Toady has broken the wagon-only path trick yet? If he hasn't broken the wagon-only path yet, then there's a trick you can pull with wagons and the 3-wide path here that basically negates the need to use a drawbridge against anything other than flyers. You can basically break the path in a certain way that a walking person would not be able to go up it, but the wagon will still be able to. Yeah, okay. I haven't tried that recently, so I may want to try that in. We want to put one of those in just as a precaution, I guess you'd say. Once we get this wall smooth and fortified, I'll start cutting it into the. I'll start cutting a line down, and basically we'll set up siege engines that can fire across through a line of fortifications and into a trench where their bolts can be recovered. Yeah, that's the mention of the wagon-only path there, I believe, linked in chat at the end of the wiki article on wagons. Basically, there's a particular pathfinding glitch that, like I said, breaks the pathfinding for walkers and works fine for wagons. And so it will force them to path around if they're not a wagon. Well, to be fair, it's not necessarily impenetrable. A flyer that navigated in and chose to go down your wagon path would be able to fly right across that little gap, no problem whatsoever. And they would effectively be able to bypass your traps at that point. So, for example, if I had a wagon-only path here, and a flyer, for whatever reason, decided to opt for the longer path, which I've never actually seen, but theoretically it's possible, then if they don't go through this hallway, if they came around this way, even though this was a wagon-only path, they'd be able to fly across the gap that makes it wagon-only. Yeah, a flyer can definitely cross a wagon-only path. They have no need to go down into the gap to cross it. So they will sail right over it like it doesn't even exist. Flyers don't have a problem pathfinding in 3D. The use of a lip does not stop a flyer. It doesn't matter how you arrange the gap, man. A flyer can actually fly up to your roof and come in from the top if you have a door up there, for example. Yeah, but flyers aren't jumpers. Flyers can cross gaps of any distance. That's what I'm saying. It's not... A wagon-only path will not keep a flyer out. You're going to need to add a drawbridge or a door or something on the far side. It will not be able to stop them with just that gap. Now, what I don't know is whether it will actually break their pathfinding, because Toady has had problems in the past with flyers not pathfinding properly in certain cases, and he's had to limit or restrict where flyer pathfinding can go and path. But I have no idea what the actual limitations on that would actually be, in terms of what that would actually impact you. No clue. I think, like I said, I don't believe a flyer will be stopped by a wagon-only path. I don't think it will break their pathfinding sufficiently to keep them out. Okay, we've almost got the catch pocket carved here. That's good. Now, it's important to remember that siege engines are operated by civilians. Civilians will flee if they contact the enemy. You need to make sure that there are at least 20 spaces between the enemy and your dwarves operating siege engines. Don't worry about that. Siege engines have plenty of range. They do not have a problem reaching their targets. So what we're going to do here is we're going to excavate a siege engine area. So this is going to be a twofold purpose area. This is not only going to be the area where the siege engines are firing this way across the gap to kill intruders as they're stuck out here on the ledge. we're also going to use this as our catapult training array. Catapults have the advantage of having free siege ammunition, and the ammunition doesn't destroy when it hits a wall. So what we'll do is we'll build a catapult whose sole purpose is to fling ammunition into a raised bridge. Drop it into a shaft directly in front of itself so that it can be collected and flung again. So we're going to have a catapult that flings stones about 3 feet before it hits a wall. Yeah, you don't have anywhere near range is not a problem with the siege engine. You just need to make sure you have at least the 20 or 30 squares it takes before you'll startle your civilians. This space here, and if I build behind this, if I build my siege engines in this space back here, is going to be more than sufficient to allow them to fire without being distracted. We're going to cut fortifications into this section here so that nothing can fly in, and we'll be able to fire straight through that fortification like it's not even there. Almost ready. Come on, finish the last one. Come on, you can do it. There we go. And now my guys will come along and cut this into a channel. And so what will happen is our siege ballistas will fire down south, will fire south, north to south along these vertical shafts where the enemy may be moving in the wrong direction for our archers, basically. But we'll be lined up neatly for multiple targets for a single ballista bolt. So at that point, if they hit something, great, wonderful. If not, the ballista bolt will sail through the fortifications, strike the backstop here, and drop into the shaft. And just like the archery range up here, since it drops down a floor, it doesn't destroy the bolt, and we can reuse those that ballista ammunition all day long at that point. You can, but realistically, you don't want to try and fight with a catapult. Catapults, unlike ballistas, they do not hit targets that are intervening. A ballista bolt is literally like a ray gun, and anything the ray touches, and the ray goes through stuff, and if anything the ray touches gets hit. A catapult is literally like a single point impact. It doesn't even have splash. So if the rock doesn't literally land on the target, there is no effect whatsoever. Catapults are wonderful for training your troops, but they are horrifying for doing anything other than moving rocks across an embark. But yes, you could set up a bridge, say, right here, and fling rocks into it from the backside, and then when the enemy came, you could drop the bridge and fling the rocks at them. Absolutely you could. Certainly. Okay, looks like we've got our first floor of the chasm dug out here. We'll go one deeper, and then that point we should be below the level where anybody coming in would see intruders on the bridges, because they'll be too far down to see over the lip of the stone. And then the siege engines are going to need siege engine workshops. Let's go ahead and get one of those up if we don't have one already. We should have space on the floor below or above, maybe. What stockpile was this? Is this still a bar block stockpile? We just didn't clean it out. Yeah, let's see what's in this. Is this nothing now? Did we move all our metal downstairs? Yeah, this is nothing. Okay, so this gets cleaned up. Huh, I thought that the ballista bolts were in the ammunition category. I'm not seeing them now. Huh. Oh, I see. He's got them all standardized under furniture now, so it's all in one category. Parts and ammo all in one box. Got it. Nice. That'll work. So there's siege ammo, ballisto airheads, catapult and ballista parts with bins in one giant stockpile with 3 siege workshops being fed from that. This is where we'll build all of our catapult and ballista parts. We'll build all of our ammunition here in this one stockpile. So yeah, I've messed around with catapults a little bit, thinking maybe I could dual purpose and just, like I said, unless you directly hit the target, they have no effect at all.
Parts completed! I've made an amazing artifact!
Siege engines as toys, that's catapult territory. Siege engines as actual defense, that's ballista territory. We're taking forever to get our mining done over there. Okay, let's see. We got our bridge built yet? Or are we still working on that too? Still working on that too. Okay, so we're basically on autopilot for a minute here. I gotta get some stuff done. Yeah, as far as training your guys goes, a catapult would be my suggestion. Just aim it at a wall and keep firing. The ammunition is cheap, plentiful, and can be thrown into a wall forever without being ruined. So at that point, you can use it to train your guys up to legendary, siege operators. And then when they start firing ballistas, they don't miss, and anything they hit gets, reduced to goo. You are hit by a low-flying subsonic tree trunk. What do you do? Well, I'll let that run a minute while I step away for just a moment. Sparring is not more dangerous. You do need to be cautious that if you're doing it around stairs, that dwarves who are engaging in wrestling don't knock one another down atop a staircase because they'll fall to their deaths. But if you do like I did here and you put hatches over the staircase, I've had people sparring in this barracks since we basically founded this fort, and we haven't had a single training fatality or even injury yet. Sparring is perfectly safe. Don't use danger rooms anymore. They are no longer safe, period. I'm not sure to what extent the same applies to a ramp. I suppose you could lose your footing and roll down a floor, but I don't imagine you'd go down 2 floors. A knockback at the wrong time down a straight ramp could definitely send you 3 or 4 floors down, and that could be, painful or dangerous. But like I said, as long as you're not knocking them down a flight of stairs as part of their sparring practice, it's not going to be an issue. It'll never be a problem. I've never had a sparring injury since Toady first fixed sparring injuries after they, after we figured out how to get them sparring again, and originally in, I don't know, version 40 or version 34. Or maybe it was version 31. God, it's been so long ago with this now. I'm not even sure which version added sparring back in. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many instruments are actually in the world. Different types, you mean? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look. Maybe Legends would tell me. Maybe. We have an alpaca starved to death when I wasn't looking. Hmm. I know I built that room for something, and now I, for the life of me, can't remember what I built it for. That's what happens when you start getting tired, guys. It's coming on to the last hour here now, finally, and I am starting to feel it, finally. My energy is wearing out. Don't have that much left in me. I'll have to trade out to something a little less mental. Under the build statue details. Okay, so if I want to do build... Oh, you mean when you actually make a statue, like if I'm going to design a statue? Okay, I'm in the details. I'm assuming that this is related to a civilization, probably. I don't know, a few dozen? I'd have to count them. I wish it had a count of them, but I'm not going to count them right now. No offense, I'm a little too far gone for that right at the moment. But I'll tell you what I can do. I'm going to export this when I'm done, so it'll go out on a Dwarf Fortress file depository. And if you're really curious about how many instruments are in my world, you can always crack the world open and count them. I promise they'll be there. Alternatively, you can wait. I'm thinking if we don't finish it this morning, then I may finish it tonight or maybe tomorrow, depending on when I can get back to it. But I do want to build that tower regardless, so let's see. Have we finished this yet? Nope, almost. I think we're getting ready to do it now. Get ready to finish it up right now. I mean, I could, but my intent is to turn it over to the public at that point. Let folks who want to go along with it go along with it. It's getting down to the point where I would consider the fort, reasonably speaking, end game, where the point where you start contemplating what sort of mega project you want to do, or what sort of massive, engineering undertaking you're looking for. You mean this layout? This fortress, this pancake stack kind of layout is basically how I do all my fortresses. Every single one of them is very similar to this in general principle. Central staircase is efficient vertical design. Realistically, at some point, if I wanted to save my frame rate, I'd have to go back and wall up some of these mining tunnels because they are long pathfinding extensions that we don't need. They're hurting our pathfinding a little bit. There's several floors of them that I should probably go back and wall up that I haven't done. You know, at this point, I'd want to make sure I expanded my coffins and burial area. I'd want to make sure. Oh, look, we've got a well now. But our gold buckets are still full of lye, apparently. Meh, where's the corpse so we can get it taken care of before it starts to stink up the joint? Okay, dumping triggered. Problem resolved. Fair warning, if you're intending to set the ballistas up as I have, do not allow your citizenry to walk in front of active firing ballistas. This is a recipe for tragedy, unfortunately. So all this stone in front of the ballistas, you either need to forbid it so that nobody touches it, or get rid of it, or make sure that it's used up before you start using the ballistas. You don't want folks trying to cross the line of fire. It will end very poorly.